the public in modern politics, you see this right around the world, they're not prepared to give politics and politicians much of the by way of benefit of the doubt. And that's why you can't afford too many missteps. You can't afford too many things which allow the public and allow the media, we still have a very biased right-wing press in this country, to say they're all the same as each other. Labour are very different to the Tories in many, many ways, in policy, in values, and I think actually we now have the most working class cabinet that we've ever had, frankly. But if you're not constantly, as I said earlier, developing, executing, and narrating a very clear strategy, then a sense of a vacuum can develop, and then that will be filled with stuff like this. So what you have to be doing the whole time is making sure that you guys in the media and the public have things to think about and concentrate on that are coming from government that actually relate to their lives and actually are about the big.
Hey everyone, Tony Blair's former Director of Communications, Alastair Campbell, has weighed in on the Sue Gray situation, echoing much of what we've all been saying for a while. His main point, the priority for Labour should be improving the lives of ordinary people. However, when dealing with the right-wing media, you need a team that understands the real goal of outlets like The Sun, The Telegraph and The Daily Mail to bring down a Labour government. Campbell explains here that the government is deeply cynical about both politicians and politics, and if the government wants to keep the public on side, it needs to be seen as delivering results. He's completely right, of course. Labour needs to convince the public that their policies will truly benefit ordinary people, and they also need to manage the media narrative. As Campbell pointed out, the right-wing media will always try to paint Labour in a negative light and vice versa, but it will only gain traction with the public if the public thinks it directly impacts them. Take the Sue Gray affair, for example. Most of the general public probably doesn't even care or even know who Sue Gray is, so whilst the right-wing media is trying to stir up outrage, it will likely remain a Westminster bubble. On the other hand, topics like the two-child benefit cap on universal credit or the winter fuel allowance do directly affect people. The right-wing media knows they can gain traction by focusing on these, and Labour needs to be prepared to counter these narratives effectively. Unfortunately, Keir Starmer and his team haven't been on the ball recently. Who thought these policies like cutting the winter fuel allowance would be so popular? Pensioners, many of whom don't need the allowance, still see any cut spun as an attack on the poorest, and the right-wing media is happy to focus on that. Notice how they ignore the working people on universal credit who are also struggling. Labour needs to wake up to how these issues are framed. For example, when it comes to freebies for MPs, I've been saying for a while now, ban them all. Not just for the Prime Minister, but for all MPs. If that requires new legislation, so be it. Put it on the table and challenge the Tories to support it. Of course, they won't because they rely heavily on donations and perks, but at least Labour could demonstrate that they are taking action. Sadly, it's a little too late. Starmer returning part of the donation money, but not all of it, was a terrible move. It would have been better to say nothing at all to try and justify handing back some, but not all. Who thought that was a good idea? Labour's communications team needs to be laser focused on how policies will impact ordinary people and anticipate how the right-wing media will spin them. It's not about pandering to the media, but you need a robust and smart communication strategy that understands how policies are perceived by the public. Right now, Starmer isn't communicating well at all, and he's starting to come across as an out-of-touch bozo. Or maybe he always was. Let me know in the comments what you think. As always, I've been Jake from Just Jake, and I'll see you next time. You actually made it to the end of the video. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, which, why haven't you already, is somewhere over there. And also, if you want to watch more videos, also check out over there. I've been Jake from Just Jake. See you later.